Why isn't Minecraft Hardcore hard anymore? It's totems. If you came to this video for a short answer, there you go. Totems. But if you want a long answer diving deep into the game's history, documenting every new feature added, every update that made the game easier, every change in difficulty ever made in Minecraft, this is your answer. On the 20th of November 2010, history was made. PC gamer Tom Francis wrote a blog post about his Minecraft experiment. When I started playing Minecraft a few months back, I played with a rule. If I die, I have to delete the entire world. It's the survival aspect of the game that appeals to me. I wanted to be scared. I wanted a harder death penalty. The end of the world. My face explodes. I'm flung out of the cave, past the waterfall, all the way off the mountain and plummeting into the valley below. I'm killed on impact. Exit to menu, single player, delete world. These posts eventually caught the attention of Notch himself, and this inspired him to create a new game mode where the difficulty was locked to hard and dying forced you to delete your world permanently. This was the birth of Hardcore mode. For Java Edition, Bedrock people only got it a few weeks ago. And here I am telling them it's not gonna be difficult. Yeah, sucks to be you. You see, when Hardcore mode was added, it came with plenty of new features that made the game easier. Beds allowed you to skip the night, the most dangerous time of the day. Food was nerfed with the new hunger mechanic. But in return, hunger allowed you to sprint, which prevented you from taking damage to begin with. Also, food was now stackable, making them much more convenient. And while swords were nerfed, they were nerfed because enchantments and potions were added to the game, which made the game easier overall. With this increase in survivability, there were already people who thought that Hardcore mode was too easy, as early as 13 years ago. And so to balance things out, mobs will be buffed alongside the players. Zombies and zombie pigmen were buffed with 2 armor pots, taking 8% less damage per hit. Endermen were buffed to 20 hearts and no longer burned in sunlight. Cave spiders, spiders, and silverfish were nerfed instead. I think it's because they wanted Bane of Arthropods to one-shot them. The enchantment was so shit that they had to nerf spiders. On top of that, blazes and magma cubes were added to the game, along with the Nether fortresses, strongholds, and the Ender Dragon. Hardcore mode was off to a shaky start, but thanks to Mojang's quick response, it was still decently difficult, all things considered. Too bad this difficulty wouldn't last. Before we continue, let me just say that there's nothing wrong with the game getting easier. Minecraft is a casual game, and people don't boot up Minecraft for a Dark Souls experience. I think. I am just a fanboy answering the question you clicked on this video for, alright? I'm just a messenger. From update 1.2 to 1.8, plenty of buffs and nerfs were made. Zombies and skeletons were buffed to follow players better and run towards shade or water during the day. Zombies will be buffed again in 1.4 with the ability to infect villagers, the ability to wear armor, and the ability to have babies. They were also buffed to detect the player from up to 40 blocks. Skeletons, on the other hand, will be buffed to shoot from a longer range, shoot more accurately, and shoot faster at a closer range. On top of that, witches, wither skeletons, the wither guardians, and elder guardians will be added to the game. Regional difficulty would also be added. It increased the chances of mobs spawning with armor and spiders spawning with potion effects the longer you stayed in one area. All of which pulled the game towards the more difficult side. And so in response, trading will be added to the game in 1.3, which allowed you to get diamond equipment, drastically decreasing the game's difficulty. Beacons, anvils, and enchantment books were added in 1.4, which made it even easier. Enchantments were also buffed to require 30 instead of 50 levels, and 15 instead of 30 bookshelves. Then buffed to require a flat 1 to 3 levels, and also show the enchantment now, but at the cost of lapis lazuli. So basically, nothing of value was lost. Lapis lazuli is a C-tier resource at best. They are more useless, much more annoying, and much uglier than copper. Their life is nothing. They served zero purpose. And then, 1.9 happened. And we all know that 1.9 was the best thing to happen to this game. Armor was massively nerfed to protect you less at higher damage, but food was buffed to heal you much better. Swords were nerfed to do less damage, but it's because combat was reworked to make the game easier. Sharpness was nerfed from a 1.25 to 6.25 buff into a 1 to 3 buff, a massive nerf. But mending was added. The Ender Dragon got a new fireball type, but the Elytra was added and it made the game easier. Skeletons were buffed again, but shields now exist. Mojang made quite possibly the most bipolar update for difficulty. The game became much easier than it was 5 years ago, and the post 1.9 updates did not stop this. In 1.10, nothing happened. Okay, these two recyclables got added, but other than that, there's no reason to bring up 1.10. I just wanted to roast it. Evokers, Vexes, and Vindicators were added in 1.11, and Totals of Undying were added, along with Fireworks on Elytra. 1.12, the Crafting Recipe Book was added. 1.13, Shipwrecks were added. Drown and Phantoms were added. And the baby zombie finally burned in sunlight. A bit too late, unfortunately. 1.14, Villager Trading was buffed. Raids were added, creating a renewable source of totems for players. And ironically, hard difficulty gives you more totems during these raids. 1.15. Also, Phantoms could now be toggled off. 1.16, Massive Nether rework happened. 1.18, Cave rework. 1.19, the Deep Dark and the Warden. And finally, 1.21. The Maze, the new potions, the Trial Chambers, and Breezes were added to the game. Bogs were added. A mob so forgettable they didn't even make it to the update splash art. Okay, maybe I shouldn't be too harsh. I actually like this update. After this entire history of changes, hardcore just eventually stopped being hard. It went from a brutal game mode where any mistake could spell the end of your world into a game mode that was only hard until you did your perfect start to Minecraft Hardcore. The perfect start to Minecraft Hardcore. My perfect start in Minecraft Hardcore. What a perfect start in Minecraft. The perfect start in Minecraft. My perfect start in Hardcore. The absolute perfect start. Hardcore was so easy that even I can play it. Me! I tried to start a hardcore series a year ago, and I just didn't have it in me to continue playing. I was bored out of my f***ing mind. I went into it expecting the most brutal gameplay, the most harsh and cruel treatment ever known to man. But after trying it for myself, it just felt like a normal survival playthrough, just grindier. And this was when I had a massive realization. Now we have a short answer and a long answer. But here's the Galaxy Brain Ultra Uber Omega But here's the Galaxy Brain Ultra Uber Omega based answer. Are you ready? The reason that hardcore isn't hard anymore is because hardcore was never hard to begin with. I'll start by saying that this is in no way Mojang's fault. It isn't their fault that Minecraft became easier, and it isn't their fault that hardcore was never hard to begin with. And that's because making a game hard is itself hard. Game designing is hard, which is probably really obvious now that I've said it out loud. Hit the subscribe button for more critical analysis video essays like this. You see, I recently watched a video called Difficulty is Weird by Rasputin, which you should definitely check out after this video. And it made me realize just how hard it is to make a game difficult in a way that satisfies everybody. There are just too many variables. To help prove my point, let's create a new Minecraft difficulty together. First of all is the target audience. Who are you balancing for? You can either balance the game around those who want a more casual experience, making the skill floor low and make it so anybody could get into the game, but this will alienate the players looking for a challenge. Or you can alienate the casuals instead, break the glass ceiling and balance the game for gamers like me, where some experience is required and players have to spend time learning the game. You could also balance the game around speedrunners, but I wouldn't recommend that. Second of all, artificial difficulty. Is it actually difficult, or does it just make the game more tedious? A good example of this are games with leveling systems. Not this one, that one. You could make every Pokemon game harder by simply making every enemy a higher level. But does that actually make the game harder, or does it just force players to grind more? An example of this in Minecraft is armor spawns. We can give every zombie a full diamond set in the late game to balance things out. But does that actually make the game harder, or does it just turn zombies into damage sponges? Number 3. Dynamic difficulty. Dynamic difficulty is when the game sort of depends on you. The longer you play, the better the game will become, so the enemies also get tougher as the game progresses. If you make a game learn too little, it makes the early game too difficult while making the late game too easy. But if you make the game learn too much and follow the player too closely, it takes away the progression. It makes the players feel as if they're not getting better at the game because they're still struggling even after investing countless hours. It also takes away the satisfaction Some players like having the power fantasy of one-shotting an enemy that they used to struggle against. It is such a hard thing to balance that Minecraft simply just doesn't have any of this. The game doesn't learn with you. The mobs you fight in the early game will be the same mobs you fight in the late game. Which brings me to number 4. Is it still fun? Make a game too easy and it becomes boring, but make a game too hard and it becomes frustrating. A great example is Geometry Dash. This is Doggy. He plays the hardest GD levels, and I have never seen him give a positive enjoyment score, ever. The skill requirement has gotten so high that it comes at the cost of players having fun. How hard can we make the game before it goes too far? Every skeleton has aimbot now. All poison attacks now last forever. Creepers deal twice the damage. 2 Ender Dragons? You know, like 2 Ender Dragons? And keep in mind, these are just the variables that I could think of. There's probably a lot more to mention. Looking at all this, you can kind of understand why most game designers just go, fuck it, do less damage, take more damage. There's just too many things to pay attention to. In fact, there's so many variables that I don't think even you remember what I've just said. Very briefly, what were the 4 variables that I just mentioned? This isn't to say that there aren't creative ways to add difficulty. Mario Party adds difficulty through computer AI. They just become smarter. Maybe Minecraft could become harder by making the mobs smarter. In Metal Gear Solid 2, a stealth game, being seen gives you a game over at higher difficulties. And since Minecraft is a sandbox game, I don't know, maybe dying in a game makes you die in real life. All of which are interesting ways to make a game more difficult, and maybe Mojang could try that. But they don't have to do this. It's okay that Minecraft isn't hard. It's okay that the game is easy. By having the game at a lower difficulty, it lets Minecraft stay safe as a game intended for everyone, and it lets players add difficulty in their own ways. Minecraft may not be the difficult challenge that you want it to be, but what's stopping you from imposing your own rules? What's stopping you from playing the way you want? What's stopping you from telling your story? If mending makes the game too easy for you, take them away. If totems make the game too easy, throw them away. And most importantly, we don't need hardcore. Take a look at Mock Swamp. The man spent 12 years on Superflat. He made his own rules and his own goals. He created multiple works of art, and he did all of this without the need of a one-life system. He is the perfect example of playing Minecraft the right way. The way that's most fun for you. The way that's perfectly difficult for you. Playing it in such a way that you wouldn't mind spending over a decade on a world. Which brings me to this video where I covered the full 12 years of Mock Swamp's history. If you've enjoyed this video where I covered the difficulty of Minecraft, then be sure to check out this video. I'm sure you'll enjoy that as well. Huge thanks to Atticus for their kind donation.